Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3, The Game, streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. We are live today from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, Twin Peaks in Madison. That's right, where the award-winning pregame show will start in 2 hours at 4 o'clock here. Derek will be with me as we get you set for the Titans and the Dolphins. Meanwhile, good news in baseball right now as the Braves are up 3-0 in the bottom of the seventh inning. Very, very happy about that. Ian is here today. Hello, Ian.
What up, what up?
It's a split doubleheader Monday night football game. It's not, I have a hard time talking about tonight's game and saying prime time, or talking about tonight's game and saying the whole country will be watching, because I don't know if the whole country will be watching. You know, I think these split doubleheaders stink. I hate them. And every time the Titans play the split doubleheader, the Titans get the short end of the stick. They get put on ESPN, not ABC. They get the number 2 crew with Chris Fowler and Dan Orlovsky, and not the Joe Buck and Troy Aikman crew. So, I mean, I guess it's a primetime game. I guess it's kind of one of those, you know, everybody's watching kind of. I mean, I don't think everybody's watching, but again, that's their business, not mine. Ian, I'm going to put it on the mahogany today. On Friday, we did not pick the game in 6-pack picks. You know, normally we pick it, but I decided this. I said, Ian, don't put that in 6-pack picks. We're going to pick it on Monday. So I don't even know what the spread is. Has it gone to 2.5? Ian, do we know what the spread in tonight's game is?
I actually have not looked at that today. As far as I knew, I don't know if it changed. Well, it's 2.5 Miami, minus 2.5. Yeah.
So last week it opened Titans -1. Then on Thursday it was Miami -1. Then on Friday it was Miami 1.5. Today it's Miami 2.5. The money is coming in on Miami. And I purposely went out of my way not to pick this game because I'm picking the Titans today. And I did not want to ruin the start of the show on Monday with Friday. I know better. I should know better than to pick the Titans to win tonight. I should know better. I was talking to my dad about it this week, and my dad said, who are you picking to win the game? I said, I'm picking the Titans. And he said, why? I said, because even though on paper Miami should win, I really think Miami should win. You know, when we get to the edge segment, it's no question who I think has the better team. It's Miami. And not only that, Jeffrey Simmons is doubtful. L'Jarius Sneed is questionable. I mean, you're going to go to Miami and try to win a game without any of your good players. You're going to have a secondary of Jarvis Brownlee and Trey Avery covering Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. So I know. I picked the Titans to beat the Jets. And Ian backed me up on this. The only reason I said I was picking the Titans ahead of the Jets game, when my head, everything was telling me Jets, I picked the Titans because I've seen this so many times over the years in the NFL where it doesn't make sense that a team should win and somehow a team wins. And so I picked the Titans because of that ahead of the Jets game.
I think that sounds about right. Yeah.
Then I picked the Titans ahead of the Packers game because I figured there's no way they were going to lose to Malik Willis. I know it was fun to pick on Jeffrey Simmons last week when he said nobody runs the ball on the Tennessee Titans. And then everybody ran the ball on the Tennessee Titans with the Green Bay Packers. But I thought going into the Packer game with Malik at quarterback, I thought nobody was going to run the ball on the Tennessee Titans. Again, I know it's funny to laugh at him now because he's got egg all over his face. But I didn't see the egg coming, tripling, and I should be the other way because I was hard on the Titans all offseason long. We're right here at Twin Peaks out here in Madison. Ian, do you remember the meltdown the last time I stepped foot in this Twin Peaks in Madison when the Titans didn't draft Joe Alt because he went to the Chargers, but they drafted J.C. Latham?
I remember, yeah.
So I've been hard on the Titans ever since then. And I'll be honest, I probably said some things on that draft show that I personally probably regret. That I'm not saying that they're not true, but I probably went a little too over the top. That's how worked up I was by what I thought was going to be a very exciting night to draft Joe Alton. Instead, it ended up being the exact opposite. So, that being said, today's game, even if Jeffrey Simmons doesn't play, even if L'Jarius Sneed doesn't play, I'm taking the Titans. I'm taking the Titans. And while the Dolphins are playing a quarterback off the practice squad, I mean, again, everything is telling me Dolphins. But I just can't see the Titans starting 0-4. I cannot see it. And I know I watched Jacksonville go 0-4 yesterday because at the end of the day, Trevor Lawrence just ain't that good. I can't see the Titans starting 0-4. So while the Dolphins are playing a quarterback off the practice squad, it is a quarterback who is a capable backup. I mean, he made the Pro Bowl, for crying out loud. But yet I'm picking the Titans. No matter how much I dogged them this offseason, no matter how many times I told the right tackle story this season, I just can't see them being this bad, this fast. 0-4 heading into the bye. And Ian, are you familiar with the term dog whistling?
Kind of, yeah.
It's when somebody says something that technically on its merit is not racist, but it kind of has a racist undertone to it, or it has a, I think that's kind of the context that we use it the most. But again, it's kind of when you hear something without actually hearing it. The Titans spent all off season dog whistling to the fans that they thought this was going to be a good team. Like outside of Brian Callahan on the busing with the boys saying, hey, I think this is going to be a good team. Outside of that, the Titans didn't come out and say, we expect to be really good this year. Like Rand never sat down and said, I expect this team to compete this year. Brian Callahan never said, I expect this team to compete this year. Chad Brinker never said, I expect this team to compete this year. Amy never said it. But they all kind of said it in their own way during the offseason. I can tell you right now, they may be sitting in the back room at the facility and they may be saying, hey guys, we knew this was going to be a rebuilding year. We knew that this was going to be tough. We knew that, but that's not what they were saying. That's not what they were selling to you. That's not what they were selling to me. That's why I got so mad during the offseason, because I kept hearing all of these things about how good this team was going to be, about how great the vibes are inside the building, about how well everybody's getting along, about how guys can be themselves, about how now they finally got the organization structure they need. Amy, when she fired Mike Vrabel, said, I have high expectations for this team. Again, she didn't say, I expect us to win a bunch this year, but that's the impression that they gave the fans. And I knew it wasn't going to happen. And Ian knew it wasn't going to happen. And we bore the brunt of people basically saying on the other side of it, like saying, you guys are haters and you guys are just doing this to piss people off. And you guys are, and I'm like, no, like this team, they don't have a right tackle. This team, this is not that. And yet I'm picking the Titans because again, I just can't see it being this bad. I just can't see it. I cannot envision doing a show tomorrow on what is essentially Titans Monday. I cannot envision doing a show tomorrow talking about 0-4 heading into the bye. I cannot envision what a week of no football is going to be like around here. Remember the week of no football around here last year? They were 2-4 and Tannehill was hurt. And all of a sudden it turned into this whole meltdown of, are they going to trade a Henry? Are they going to trade a Hopkins? Oh, they traded Byard. Vrabel's fighting with me about what he said at New England and what he didn't say. Again, going back to the dog whistling, Vrabel absolutely implied that New England's better than here. By the way, how are they doing? But I cannot see it being as bad as it's going to get around here if they lose tomorrow. And when I say as bad as it's going to get around here, I'm not talking about just me. I mean, I guess I'm going to rip them tomorrow. I don't know. I mean, I ripped them the first week they lost because a quarterback went out and did something stupid. I ripped them the second week because the quarterback did it again, and the defense didn't get a turnover, and everybody in Titanland was making excuses. I ripped them after the third week because they got beat by Malik. I mean, it can't get worse than that, right? Like rock bottom, there's not a lower than that. So I'm taking the Titans today. And the one kind of silver lining in this, the one saving grace, the one thing I'm kind of circling is the other team has Aaron Brewer at center. And I know how bad Aaron Brewer is. Trust me, I've experienced it. I've argued with you all about it. Jared, you don't understand. No, I understand. He's small and he can't snap. Other than that, he's great. So I decided not to pick this game on Friday. I didn't want to blow the show opening. I didn't want to blow the fact that I'm picking the Titans today, but I'm picking the Titans even if I know better. Even if I should know better, I'm picking the Titans to go on the road tonight with that bumbling quarterback they have, with a head coach that's might be a little in over his head, without Jeffrey Simmons, and maybe without L'Jarius Sneed against Tyreek Hill. And I'm taking the Titans. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. If you guys want to weigh in on the program. And here's kind of my follow-up to the idea of me picking the Titans. I think there are a lot of Titan fans out there that are okay with not winning today. And I don't know if I'm one of them. We'll get to that next. 615-737-1025, which is our phone number, 615-737-1025, live from Twin Peaks out in Madison, where, again, the award-winning pregame show starts at 4 o'clock. It is Stillman and Company, and that award-winning pregame show is presented by Parman Tractor and Equipment, Sundeck Nashville, Sloan's Motorcycle ATV, and award-winning Blue Note Juke Joint and Blue Note Crossroads Bourbon.
People always bring up the creativity and explosiveness of a Mike McDaniel's offense. As an offensive-minded coach yourself, what do you see in that has led to so much success for him?
They're so creative. They're unique because they have so much speed at all the positions on offense. They're running backs, the receivers. They do a really nice job, particularly with using Alec Ingold in the fullback, like a hybrid role with the fullback role. They're just really, really thought out, well coached. They're technically sound. Everything they do from a schematic standpoint puts a ton of stress on the defense. It's really fun as an offensive coach to watch. I think you see everybody probably tries to steal something from what they do, but I don't know that you can ever duplicate what and how they do it because of the players they have. They have a very unique collection of players that not everybody has that same kind of speed, but I mean, they're unbelievably creative in how they deploy those people.
There you go. That was Brian Callahan talking about Mike McDaniel and the Dolphins offense. And I don't think there needs to be anything creative today if you're the Dolphins. Hey, you see Jarvis Brownlee and Trey Avery? Run. Hey, Snoop, throw the ball deep. That's what I think I would do. So I am having a little trouble here when it comes to the game today. I'm picking the Titans. I don't know why, other than I just can't imagine they're going to start the year 0-4. And that's coming from a guy in me who picked the Titans to be bad this year, told you guys they didn't have a right tackle. All the things that we talked about and said in the offseason have proven prophetic. I mean, at least if there's a silver lining for me personally, it's that I've been a little right, but it's way more fun to talk about a team that's good than to talk about a team that's bad. But I just don't see 0-4. So maybe, again, I picked the Titans over the Jets because I just could not imagine the Titans losing that game. You know, or because I've seen so many different ways these games get. I mean, Bo Nix threw for like 30 yards yesterday, and they won the game. Like, and I figured that could be what would happen there. The Braves, by the way, are having a total meltdown right now in the 8th inning, which is just embarrassing. And also a shame. Let's get to some of your phone calls. 615-737-1025. We're out at 4 o'clock for the award-winning pregame show. Let's start with Baxter. Our phone line is driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Baxter, go ahead.
Hey, man. Hope you're doing well. Tighten up today. Hey, just wondering, at what point, if any, tonight do we end up just putting Mason in there and letting him rip it out, see what we got, you know?
So, again, thank you for your call, Baxter. When it comes to taking the quarterback out, the way I view this, this idea of do you take him out, do you leave him, whatever. The way I view all of this is simply, what good does taking him out do? If you're Brian Callahan and you're like, hey, I got an owner who is pouring lava on me behind the scenes, because, again, we told everybody we were going to be good. Let's not kid ourselves. The Titans excused every shortcoming, every mistake, every bad day of practice, everything they excused. Well, Denard's defense is really hard to play against. Well, Seattle's defense is really hard to play against. We'll get it figured out. It'll be okay. They did all of that. And I can't imagine, you guys aren't happy about the results so far. I can't imagine that Amy is happy with the results so far. So when it comes to whether or not they pull the quarterback, there's a part of me that thinks about this like, okay, if you're Brian Callahan and you just want to start winning, then yeah, I could see him pull the quarterback. But if we're being realistic here, I mean, you're already 0-3. Let's say you're staring down 0-4. You've got a bye week before the Colts. What good does switching the quarterback do? Nobody makes the playoffs at 0-4, except for apparently the 1992 Chargers. Nobody makes the playoffs at 0-2. So what is the point in changing the quarterback at that point? And that's where I'm like, I understand, like, if you're sitting there and you're like, hey, we want to win. That's what we want. We want to win this game. Then you're better off with the other quarterback. And I don't know where the owner is on this. Like, the owner hired this coach for this quarterback. it's not going to be a good look with the owner if 4 games in, it's like, yeah, nah, I'm sorry. I know you paid me millions of dollars and gave me a multi-year contract to make this guy good, but he sucks. So we're going with somebody else. So to answer your question, I don't think we're going to see a change. I don't think they're even close to a change. I would be shocked. Put me down here. I would be shocked, barring injury, if anybody else starts against the Indianapolis Colts. Shocked. No matter what happens tonight, I'd be shocked. Let's go to Joe, who's up next here on our program. Joe, thank you for calling. Joe, thank you for waiting. Go ahead.
Hey, Jared, thanks for taking my call. I just want to pump the brakes on all the Titans fans about Will Levis, getting replaced by Mason. My question is what good does it do you this season? You've got to find out what you have in Levis. We knew the right tackle situation was going to cause a lot of problems this year. And
how do you find out what you have in the quarterback if you don't have a right tackle?
Well, but I mean, you've got to, you can see if he can make, do something. I mean, the thing is if you put Mason Rudolph in there without a right tackle, you're just swapping spit for spit. You're not getting
I don't think you are. I don't think Mason Rudolph rolls the ball on the ground to the other team.
I think he does. Because you cannot
Why? He's
move
never
the
done
ball
that in his career.
if you don't have a right tackle. But you cannot move the ball if you don't have a right tackle or a left tackle. So it's regardless of who you have behind center right now. You just got to, before the Colts game, what they need to do is they have got to figure out who can play at the right tackle position that's better than who they have right now.
There's not an option on this team.
Well,
I take that back.
Picking is slim.
Joe, I appreciate your call. What you're talking about, you're living in some kind of fantasy land that's not real. This idea of, they got to figure out who's going to be able to play right tackle. Here's the answer. Nobody. PT cannot play right tackle. Jalen Duncan cannot play right tackle. And I think they're going to start PT. They're going to play them both. They're going to play them both tonight, I assume, based on what the coach said. And neither of them can play in the NFL. And we have plenty of evidence and data that points to the fact that neither guy can play in the NFL. So you're like, well, we need to figure it out. Well, we're not going to figure it out. It's done. Again, that's why last time I was here at Twin Peaks was in April, and I went crazy on draft night. Now, J.C. Latham's actually been okay, but I went crazy, talking about tackles and right tackle and because I knew that this roster was legitimately flawed. And yes, they could have done something about it. They just chose not to. They smelled their own farts and thought it was perfume. And that's a problem. And then you bring up the thing that, again, I keep hearing it, the whole we need to figure out what they have in Will Levis. Do you not know? Do you not know yet? And if you don't know yet, it's because you're making an excuse for everything else, right? Oh, Jared, he's inexperienced. Oh, Jared, he's this or he's that. Well, it's not going to change. It's not going to, if you're saying, well, Jared, the offensive line's so bad, there's nothing you can do about it. That's not going to change between now and when you decide to pull the plug or not. So again, I've never believed in this stuff. Even last year. Robbie Stanley kept saying, I think at some point you got to figure out what you have in Levis. I'm like, how you got to figure out what you have in Levis behind this line? They just got Tannehill put on crutches in London. You think this is going to be any better for the other guy? And Levis got hurt twice last year. So, again, I think we know what they have in Levis, which is a young quarterback who has some NFL talent, but is probably not a good enough decision maker to be a quarterback in the NFL. That's what it is. And I hate to say it, but, you guys want answers. What does Chris Sanders always say? Keep playing the same record. You're going to keep hearing the same song. But I think we know what they have in Levis. Didn't you know last week when it was kind of a chips on the table game and he comes out right away and he moves the ball down the field and they score a touchdown, which they only scored a touchdown because Rashawn Gary or whoever it was for the Packers lined up offsides. PT gave up a sack on the first drive that technically didn't even count. And so then they score a touchdown and then it's 10-7 and it's kind of all right, this is going to be a ball game. This is the kind of pick six, game over. Don't you kind of know? But I could be wrong. 615-737-1025, which is our phone number, 615-737-1025. I got to tell you, it's not easy doing an entire radio segment while your baseball team has a complete and total meltdown. But that's exactly what just happened to the Braves.
Yeah, not good
who
from the Braves
trailed
here.
the Mets 6-3 in the bottom of the 8th inning. It was 3-0 going to the top of the 8th. Well, it's still in the top of the 8th. It was 3-0 going to the top of the 8th. It's 6-3. The playoffs were 6 outs away. Just a total meltdown. 615-737-1025. We're back to your phones next here on Stillman and Company. And there's an injury that's pretty massive in tonight's game that I don't know about you guys. It's news to me. We'll get to that next. Stillman and Company, 1025-1063 the game.
Assess Jeff's play to this point?
I think Jeff's been playing excellent. As you can see, teams don't run the ball up the middle on us. And then, like I said last week, they slide to him a lot. but he's been doing an excellent job. He's controlling and neutralizing the line of scrimmage along with Sweat, and he continues to just be one of our better players.
I'm curious though, because you see a lot of players in this league, whether it's Chris Jones, whoever, like it slides to them, but they still manage to produce.
Well,
so,
it's also about us on first and second down, stopping the run and allowing him to get off. And then, we've been playing teams where when we stop the run or we create negative plays on first down, they don't allow us to rush because they screen. They get the ball out quick. And it's just been it's been one of those things right now. But he's working diligently. Everybody else is, and he'll make the plays. It's still a long season. It's early. We're still figuring it out. All right, but we got to figure out fast. And, Jeff, I have no worries about Jeff. He's one of our best players, and he'll continue to be one of our best players.
There you go. That's your defensive coordinator, Denard Excuse-Making Wilson, out there making every excuse in the book for Jeffrey Simmons. And it's a long season. He'll make the plays. You'll see. Not tonight, because he is, we assume, going to be inactive. Because the Titans have made two moves here on the practice squad. The Titans have elevated defensive lineman Abdullah Anderson from the practice squad and corner Trey Avery. And so those are your two game day elevations. Ian, you know what that means as far as Trey Avery being called up from the practice squad?
Yeah, I guess he might get some playing time, huh? Maybe.
L'Jarius Sneed's probably not going to play.
I thought maybe that was for Awuzie going on IR, just to have an extra body maybe. But hopefully that doesn't mean anything about Sneed.
Maybe. But again, Sneed questionable with a hammy, and then they're going to put him out there.
I think Sneed will play.
You got a bad hammy, and he's going to put you out there against Tyreek Hill?
He was able to practice some this week.
So.
Unlike Simmons.
I want to get to the Simmons thing here. When did Simmons get hurt? Am I the only person in the world that all of a sudden I saw a tweet on Saturday when Jim Wyatt tweeted out there that Jeffrey Simmons was doubtful for the game with an elbow injury. And I said, when did that happen? Did I miss, in all seriousness, did I miss something? Simmons is out here holding press conferences talking about how he's doing his job and he can't wait to go up against Aaron Brewer. And all of a sudden now I'm told Simmons isn't going to play because of an elbow. When did Simmons get hurt in the game against the Packers? What did I miss? Did you see him get hurt, Ian? Did you see him get hurt in the Packer game?
No, but I believe he was listed with the elbow injury before this week, but he was able to play.
Guys get
I didn't
with a toenail injury.
No, I didn't notice anything.
What is going on here? What did he get injured from? Not hitting the quarterback? And what really does suck is, for me personally, kind of ruins my dream a little bit. And I did have a dream. And my dream did involve Simmons and Sweat going up against Aaron Brewer. Because for 2 years, I had to bitch about Aaron Brewer every single week. And I had to be told that I was being unfair. I was being a hater. I was, as the distinguished gentleman in the YouTube chat would say, spewing nonsense. I was spewing nonsense about this great 270-pound center the Titans had. The guy who I knew the Titans could have given a right of first refusal tender to, and instead decided to tender with a second-round contract. So for an entire offseason where all I heard for the entire offseason was, we don't have any money, they wasted an extra $2.5 million they didn't need to on Aaron Brewer. And then after a season where through probably 3 quarters, every week I complained and every week I was told I was a hater, finally fans started to realize, Jared may be onto something about Aaron Brewer. So he goes to the Dolphins, and I have this dream of big Tavondre Sweat in front of Aaron Brewer. And I have this dream of Jeffrey Simmons in front of Aaron Brewer. And even though I don't think that either guy are superstar level players like they should be, I can accept it because I know that they'll get to put their big butts right up against Aaron Brewer's little butt and just push him right into the quarterback. And now Jeffrey Simmons is not going to play because he, I guess, got hurt not producing for the Titans. So again, this miserable season just keeps getting sadder and sadder for whatever that's worth. 615-737-1025 if you want to weigh in. 615-737-1025. I have been monitoring the YouTube chat, Ian, now that we have our new streaming software.
Uh-huh.
Chef Ran in the YouTube chat, I think, is starting to flip.
Uh-oh, what happened?
You know, when the Titans started out poorly, there was about throughout the offseason, you know, we call them season ticket holders. They listen every day. We love them, even though they don't always love me. But the season ticket holders throughout the offseason defended the Titans and were aggressive against me, but also Ian, who expected the Titans, put his expectation level at 4 wins this season. And
yes, they would like to remind us every time that we expected them to be bad.
Yeah, but they've stopped doing that lately. They've stopped doing that. And so then slowly but surely, you know, and I really feel like this is the Let Ran Cook crew. And slowly but surely, they've started defecting one by one as the course of the season has gone on. The distinguished gentleman in the YouTube chat, he has not. He said they were going to win 3 in a row before the Packer game. Obviously, that's not going to happen. But now he thinks they're going to win 5 in a row or something like that. So he hasn't flipped. He has not crossed the picket line. Chef Ran, again, the guy's picture is a picture of Ran with a chef hat on, and his name is Chef Ran. Chef Ran has posted the YouTube chat that the Titans are cooked. It makes me feel...
Are the Titans cooking, or are they cooked?
Cooked. It makes me feel like you're starting to see the tide turn, which is why they're going to win tonight, which is why I'm telling you they're going to win tonight, because all hell is going to break loose for 2 weeks if they lose tonight. And I won't get my dream of Simmons and Sweat versus Brewer, because, again, I don't know what Simmons did to his elbow, but he did something. I don't know when he did it, but he did something. Andrew says the pass rush and offensive line are already worse than the quarterback situation somehow. That's why 20 hours of complaining about Will Levis a week is so maddening. Let me say this. The most important position in the NFL is quarterback. So that's why we're going to talk about it. The reason that, I truly believe, as bad as the defense was against Packers, I truly believe you lost that game when Levis threw the pick 6 and everybody in the stadium dropped their head and thought, oh, darn. So, yeah, the other problems, look, the offensive line's terrible. I told you guys right tackle. We went over it. You know, it's not worth discussing anymore. But quarterback's the most important thing here. And as long as they keep running him out there and as long as he keeps making those same decisions, you're going to lose. So either he stops making the decisions like that or you take him out. Or it's just going to keep happening over and over and over again. One texter says, the funny thing is Brewer is playing as a top 5 center this year. Yeah, I'll believe that when I see it. Pro Football Focus said Brewer was good last year. And then we watched the games. And even though Pro Football Focus said he was good, I watched enough Titan games. No, Brewer was terrible. I told everybody. But again, I'm just a hater, apparently. That's what it is. I'm just mean Jared. 615-737-1025, which is our phone number, 615-737-1025 here on the program. Somebody says that Malik, I don't know if this is like a joke, said that apparently Malik accidentally kicked Simmons when he was down. That's got to not be true. I got to believe that that's fake. For whatever it's worth. 615-737-1025. We're back to some of your phones, 615-737-1025. Plus, you all said it wasn't there anymore. And I said it was the offensive line. And you all said, no, Jared, you got to admit it. It's not the same. You got to. And once again, the season of Jared being right. Once again, we all saw it last night. Stillman and Company, that's next. 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Two receivers to the left. Here's a handoff. Henry outside the right hash. 15, 20, 25, 30. There goes Henry. Out to midfield. Buffalo 40. Far sideline 30. Henry to the 20. 15, 10, 5. Touchdown Ravens.
How much did it hurt? How much did it hurt to watch Derrick Henry run? Okay, I have to. Yes, the Braves just scored 3 runs and took the lead in the bottom of the 8th inning. Woo! Sorry, Twin Peaks out here in Madison, but that's what you get. I had told Chase and Ian ahead of the show. I was like, hey, if I'm doing the show while this baseball game's on, it's going to be hard for me to keep a focus. And here comes the big hit in the game, and so it's very, very exciting. Okay, who saw Derrick Henry last night? I did. And guess what? As he was running away for a touchdown, my girlfriend has him on her fantasy team, so she was really excited too. But as he's running away in the end zone for a touchdown, I might as well have been not the father on the Maury Povich program, because I wanted to yell at every single one of you over the last 2 years that has told me, Derrick Henry's lost it. He's not the same king anymore. You got to give Derrick Henry. And I'm like, he's still good. The line sucks. Guys, it's the line. Tannehill. Let's use Tannehill as an example here. You think Tannehill, with Arthur Smith and A.J. Brown and a competent offensive line, is as efficient as Joe Montana, and all of a sudden he has a 35 QBR than 2 years later because they don't have a line, and you think Tannehill's the problem? And I kept saying, Derek still got it. And everybody kept telling me, no, he's lost a step, Jared. No, he's not as good anymore, Jared. No. I heard it all. I heard it, and I knew it wasn't true. And that's why I begged the Titans. I was like, extend him. I'm like, you need to keep him. No, Jared, he's washed up. No, he's not. Now, look, Derrick Henry, I wanted to give Derrick Henry $10 million. Derrick Henry was making 12.5 when he was here. I wanted to give him $10 million. People told me I was crazy. Just told me I was crazy about the $10 million. And I get it. Derrick Henry probably would not have re-signed here, given the fact that he went on bussing with the boys, and he said his goal was to go win a Super Bowl, and he wanted to be on a team that could win a Super Bowl. I think the other thing, too, with Derrick, and I think Tannehill kind of probably feels the same way, just based on some of the comments Tannehill made on his way out, I think they felt disrespected by the organization, which never would have happened if I had been in charge. See, I value Derrick Henry as far as what he brought to the Titans, not just as a running back, but as kind of the leader of the team. Now you've got Jeffrey, I do my job, Simmons, as opposed to Derrick Henry, who for years, for the 2 years that Derrick was still up there with the top rushers in the league, but wasn't having the big breakaway runs and taking over games the way Derrick Henry used to, he could have gone up to that podium and said, guys, this offensive line is hot garbage. Dillard sucks. Brewer sucks. PT sucks. This Daly sucks. He could have gotten up there every single week and said that. Don't blame me. But he never did, because that's not who he is. That's what the Titans need. You're changing over to this young quarterback who's got no experience. He needs Derrick Henry. And the Titans said, no, we don't need him. And it was obvious, because even though Rand never came out and said it, even though Rand pretended like, oh, yeah, everything's good between me and Kevin Byard. Oh, yeah, everything's good. He wanted to move on. He wanted to move on from Byard, and he found a way. He wanted to move on from Henry, and they found a way. They wanted to move on from Tannehill when they drafted Will Levis eventually, and they found a way. And Derrick Henry, I get it. Vrabel gets fired and Rand's taken over, and who knows who the coach is going to be, and who knows what Chad Brinker's job is and all that. I get Derrick saying, boys, I've given you 8 great years. I love you. I gave you a great one on the way out. See ya. I'm going to go try to win a title. And I still do not think that Derrick Henry is a great fit in Baltimore. And I think last night is an example of why I'm not sure I love Derrick Henry on the Ravens. Because when Derrick busts that huge run to begin the game and they have a lead, Baltimore Ravens have already been the team that when they have a lead, they can hammer anybody. If they could get a big lead on Kansas City, they'd beat them too. Like, they'd beat them too if that happened. But the problem is that at some point in the AFC playoffs, going through C.J. Stroud and going through Joe Burrow and going through Josh Allen and going through Patrick Mahomes, at some point Lamar's going to have to come from behind, and Derrick doesn't help you when you're behind. And the whole point I guess I'm trying to make here is, like, I knew Derrick Henry still had it in him. And what happens when you just want to believe that the shiny new toy after this is better, you're going to end up 0-3 watching Derrick Henry run all over the field on Sunday Night Football. Just like, and again, I voted for this referendum, so I'm guilty on this one. The A.J. Brown trade. You think, oh, we can do it without A.J. Brown. We can do it without Derrick Henry. And if Brian Callahan keeps doing these things like he did last week, where he's so in over his head that he's calling a timeout to go put the offense back out on the field because the fans booed at him, you're going to be saying the same thing about Mike Vrabel. But again, when it comes to Henry, I knew how important Derrick Henry was to this team. I mean, I was banging the table for him when Matt LaFleur, the greatest coach of all time because he won a couple of games with Malik, when Matt LaFleur had Derrick Henry on the bench, I was yelling and screaming about it. Well, I mean, you're reaping what you sow because you're too busy in the offseason trying to get the fans to be excited about all the money you're spending, and you're not focused on leadership and great play. You're letting great players walk out the door. So you can't tell me after yesterday, you cannot tell me, well, he didn't have it anymore. It was all about the offensive line. It wasn't all about the offensive line. It was Derrick. Derrick was fine. So, no, Jared did tell you he's lost it. Has he? I just saw him run for 199 on Sunday Night Football. Phew. Unbelievable. 615-737-1025, which is our phone number, 615-737-1025 here on the program. I don't, Ian, I'm not getting a lot of these Derrick doesn't have it anymore that I got for forever. Remember, Rand reportedly, make sure we get that in there, Rand reportedly wanted to trade Derrick Henry last year for a 4th round pick. And then they got up there with straight faces, not Rand because he didn't do a press conference last year after trading Meyer, but they as a team got up there with straight faces and they told us, they said, no, we're not tanking. You're trying to get rid of Derrick Henry for a 4th round pick and you're not tanking? Oh my God. The Braves just gave up a 2-run homer.
Man,
oh my God.
How back-to-back is this game? It's not even the playoffs yet.
I mean,
relax, guys.
That's what happens when you let the 9th guy on and then the 10th and then the first place hitter who's the best hitter on their team comes up. Whew. I tell you, one of these days, bad bullpens and bad offensive lines. They're going to be the bane of my existence.
Man, Lindor has carried them, huh?
Just the bane of my existence. 615-737-1025, which is our phone number, 615-737-1025. Coming up next here on the program. Trying to think of a good tease right here while I'm watching my baseball team just tank after tanking and coming back and tanking again. Coming up next, do we want the Titans to win? Like, in all seriousness, tonight against Dolphins, I think the Titans are going to win. Do we want the Titans to win? Do we? We'll get to that next. Stillman & Company, 102.5, 106 The Game. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. We are live today from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios. Twin Peaks in Madison, home of the award-winning pregame show, which is 1 hour away ahead of the Titans and the Dolphins. Derek will be with me for the award-winning pregame show. Chris obviously has got his commitments to NBA football as well. So, Titans and Dolphins tonight. In fact, they have to talk about it on TV. It's hilarious because with the split doubleheader, most of the talk on TV has been about the second game, the Seahawks and the Lions. But it's like, oh, yeah, and we have the Titans and the Dolphins. Dan Orlovsky's calling the game. Dan, what do you think about the game? Okay, thank you. All right, on to the others. But I do have a question that I never thought I'd ask. No matter how many times I would have told the right tackle story this offseason, no matter how many times I begged them, do not put PT at right tackle. No matter how many times when I heard Jalen Duncan as an option, I said, no. I never thought in week 4 of the season I'd be sitting there saying, does it really matter? Does it really matter if the Titans win tonight? Again, this is the NFL. This isn't baseball. Right now, the Braves are playing what is a de facto playoff game against the Mets, and they've completely choked it away. But there could be an argument that, hey, you know what? If they lose this game, then the Mets will pitch a bunch of nobodies in the second game, and Chris Sale, who's the best pitcher in baseball, is going for the Braves, so they'll win that. They'll be okay. That talk can be had in baseball. In hockey, I have a hard time, and I know they got to sell tickets, and I know that 2 points are 2 points, but I have a hard time in November getting jazzed up for a Thursday night game against Calgary. This is the NFL, though. There are 17 of these a year. And every coach and every player and everybody, I envision that when Derek walks in here for the award-winning pregame show, when that starts, Derek's going to be yelling and screaming about, what do you mean? What do you mean, or do we care if the Titans win? And yet, I'm a little iffy. I'm a little iffy on how I feel about tonight's game. Now, I think when they kick the ball off, I think I'll be all in on the Titans trying to win, because once you see the players out there and it's your team and it's okay, first down here and it's but it kind of feels like winning would be counterproductive. And I know that sounds crazy because this is the NFL. And I think in my life, there's been one time where I have hoped that the Titans would lose. And that was week 16, or I guess week 17, but game 16 in 2015. Because the Titans at that point in time held the number 1 pick, and it would have done them no good to have won that meaningless game against the Colts. Zach Mettenberger started at quarterback for the Titans. They played Josh Freeman, who Indy had signed that week to play quarterback. It was a meaningless game, and I was truly excited that they lost because they got the number 1 pick, which, of course, they turned into Jack Conklin, Derrick Henry, Jonnu Smith, Corey Davis, and we know the rest of the story there. So, again, that's the only time I've ever sat there and said, I hope the Titans lose. This week, I could talk myself into either side of the coin. Here's why I think losing might be at least advantageous, or at least a positive, or whatever you want to call it. For starters, if the Titans win, we'll hear a bunch of talk about how, even without Jeffrey Simmons, this team is hung together and they fought and they persevered and they're on the right track. If Levis doesn't ruin the game, I'm not even going to talk about the idea of him playing well. But if Levis doesn't ruin the game, then it kind of becomes, well, Will Levis, he went out there and he's learned from his mistakes and he's all those things. If you lose, it's a bye week of hard conversations around here. And I'm sorry, but that's what needs to be had here. Hard conversations. Is Rand cooking? That needs to be a conversation. Again, I really don't blame Rand as much as you guys probably think I do, because I think Chad Brinker this offseason is the one who's been throwing the money all over the place, even though, again, I kept saying as they kept signing guys, you don't have a right tackle. Like, you don't have a right tackle. I mean, what are you doing here? And so I say all of these things to tell you that at my core, I am a Titan fan through and through. And I love the Tennessee Titans. And I, as I've said, my dad's 73 years old. I just want one Super Bowl. That's all I'm asking for. One Super Bowl. It's never really felt further in recent years. But if they win today, again, what good does that do? If they win, then we're going to hear about how great, Will Levis is and how smart Brian Callahan is and how guys can be themselves, and they're going to recalibrate going into the bye week, and what good does that do you? And I'm going to be honest. Part of the reason why I'm indifferent about whether or not they win today is because last year when they won that game, I said it was a good thing they won because it gave us the ability to see Will Levis at his absolute best. He showed in that second half comeback against the Dolphins that he had the it factor that some of these quarterbacks need. It's the juice that I think Trevor Lawrence is missing. Because when Trevor had the ball last night, in the game against the Texans, when Trevor had the ball and they weren't moving it in the fourth quarter, I'm like, quarterbacks who have the it factor like CJ Stroud, they find a way in these games. Trevor can't because he doesn't have it. And so Levis showed us like, hey, he's got a little bit of the it factor in him. He's got a little bit of that. And I was like, we needed that. The organization needed confidence in him. The fans needed confidence in him. The coaching staff needed confidence in him. The team needed confidence in him. They needed all those things. And now I'm like, man, if they had lost that game, we wouldn't have to hear every time Levis does something mind-boggling stupid. We wouldn't have to hear, the Miami game, though, and Joe Alt would be playing left tackle for the Titans. And I watched the Georgia-Alabama game on Saturday night. Granted, I turned it off in the third quarter and had to turn it back on with about 2 minutes to go. But Jalen Milroe, a guy who this time last year after they got beat at home by Texas and did not play very well and Saban benched him, Jalen Milroe looks like Lamar Jackson. And so I'm just sitting here saying like, okay, I see all the draft gurus are saying that it's not a good draft and there might only be 5 or 6 really, really good players in it. Well, do I want to win this game against the Dolphins and jeopardize my ability to get one of the 5 or 6 good players? Like the receiver out of Missouri or Travis Hunter or, again, Jalen Milroe. Do I want to wait? Do I want to, I want to feel good tonight, so win the game. And really the only positive of winning is that you're not the worst team in the league if you win. Like that's the only positive I see. And I see a lot of sugar highs, if they win tonight. Oh no, Jared, this was the plan. They got it figured out. Again, I think they're going to win. I'm picking them to win tonight. But it just doesn't seem to go that route. Congratulations to the Braves. The horrific meltdown in the first game. The Mets are going to the playoffs. The Braves should win the second game, but who knows? But just a horrific meltdown. But again, let me say this, though. Jalen Milroe was that dude on Saturday night. And I did take notice. And it's like Mel Kiper said, the guys that show up in the big games, the big 1-2 punch games, those are big games to see. And Milroe did his thing. So I hate it because I feel like a bad Titan fan when I say, does it matter if you win? Do we want them to win? And it'd be one thing if this was November and we were saying, do we want them to win? It's not even October. And we're talking about, do we want them to win? Like, that's bad. But that's what you get. That's what you get when you have people that don't know how to run a football team, led by the owner running a football team. You're terrible. And again, winning in this case, I think only masks all the problems this team has. And while the owners seem to not care that the last general manager won a lot of games, she fired him anyways. I know. Like, I'm just going to tell you right now. I know deep down inside, I know that if they win, all the excuses that'll come, oh, Jared, didn't you see? Oh, God, they figured it out. She'll believe it. She'll believe it because she knows she looks bad right now. So, again, maybe it's not the worst thing in the world if they lose. I thought it was a good thing that they won that game last year. I thought it was a good thing that they won the Jacksonville game at the end of the year, which was completely meaningless. I thought it was good. And, well, you'd have Joe Alt or you'd have Malik Neighbors or you'd have one of those guys if you had lost those games. But, I mean, and the craziest part about it is I've been looking at the YouTube chat this entire segment. I've been looking at the text line. Not a single person in these is sitting there saying, how dare you say that? Which I think is as much of an indictment as where the Titans are. Again, it's not even October. And we're talking, and everyone's like, you know what's cool if we tank? And that to me is a massive indictment of what this, again, they spent all this money. They told you guys they were going to be good. And here we are week 4 saying, do we want them to win? 615-737-1025, which is our phone number, 615-737-1025. We'll hit your phones on this. Plus, a very popular segment about who has the edge between these two teams. Who has the edge? Titans, Dolphins. We'll get to it next. Stillman and Company, 102.5-1063 The Game. And let me tell all the fine folks out there that this week's Nashville's best deal is from Nashville's largest axe-throwing venue, Bad Axe Throwing Nashville. Aim for a great time while enjoying curated cocktails from the full bar and a Northwoods-inspired menu with a Southern twist. Go to thegamenashville.com/deals to get half off a $30 gift card while supplies last.
You talked about their speed. What's the key to combating that?
It's a mix of things. You got to affect the quarterback. If you can't get the ball down the field, it's hard to get the ball if he can't get it off. And you got to be on top of it. You got to be technically sound because they're so good at what they do schematically, as well as just physically talented. The whole picture is really complete for them. They do a great job. So you got to be on your eye discipline and you got to be on your technique. And then you have to be able to match the physical nature of what they do, and they run real fast. And I think we got guys that can do that. And then you got to help with the secondary where you can, whether it's 2 safety shells and cloud and all those things all factor into it. So it'll be a mixed approach to how you handle those guys. It always is. You never want to give them one thing because they'll adjust to. But that's how I think the battle will play out. And you got to find a way to win more downs than they do.
That was Brian Callahan talking after or during the week ahead of tonight's game against the Dolphins. So, Ian, the text line didn't seem to be against the idea of losing today. And again, I'm not saying like I'm actively rooting for them to lose, but I'm just like, does winning make can the Titans handle a win? Can the Titans handle a win? And if they win, not make it more than it is of, hey, you beat a 4th string quarterback? Like, can they handle that? I don't know. Probably. And then the text line, I don't think they can. The Titans are stupid. I don't know if you've noticed that. The Titans are stupid. Like, they are a terrible franchise, and they are never headed in the right direction ever since the day they fired John Robinson. And whether or not you want to say that Robinson stunk at his job, that's not for debate. What's for debate is the fact that, or I guess what's not for debate for me, is the fact that they did it in the season while they were in first place, shows you just how ineptly they are run. And that's not going to change. Like, it's not going to change. I said it then and I still believe it. You became a dumb franchise that day. Because, well, look, there are smart franchises that don't win games. Somebody has to win, somebody has to lose. There are smart franchises that have to fire their general manager, that have to fire their coach, but there are smart franchises that recognize when it's the right time to do that. And it's 7-5 in the middle of the season when you're in first place the week of a divisional game is not the time to do that. And so the Titans are a bad franchise. And that's why I wonder if they can handle what good comes with a win. I really do. So again, I'm not rooting for them to lose, and my feelings may change when the game starts. But the text line doesn't seem that mad about it. The YouTube chat doesn't seem to be that mad about it. Let me tell you who's mad about it. Twitter. Twitter's like, what a dumb question you would ask. I'm like, you do realize this team stinks, right? You do realize there's no chance for this team to make the playoffs. None. You do realize this quarterback ain't the guy. He might be a guy, but he ain't the guy. Like, you know, and I guess that there are some people that just can't seem to believe that. And that is, again, that whole like let Rand cook crew. This is one guy on Twitter will not leave me alone. And he's mad that I asked the question, like, did we want him to win tonight? And I'm like, look, man, I don't have time for the whole let's give Rand a chef hat after the draft because we want to pretend that every pick he made was a good pick. And again, we don't even know if Rand made them because Chad Brinker, according to Diana Rossini, is the one who's in charge. So I'm in favor of the you-know-what hitting the fan. And as of right now, I guess what I'm saying is I'm not going to be upset if they lose. I mean, again, crazy things will happen, but who knows? You know what? I take that back, Ian. I don't want to make any promises ahead of the game of how I'm going to feel because I never do that.
Just let it play out. Yep.
Yeah. Again, I watch the game and how I feel about the game is how I react. Phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Kip has been waiting patiently and is up next here on the program. Kip, thank you for calling live out at Twin Peaks in Madison. Go ahead, Kip.
Hey, Jared. How you doing?
Good.
Unfortunately, you have to burn your best arm in the next game to try to get in the playoffs.
I don't want to talk about baseball. We're talking about the Titans, Kip. Nobody in Nashville cares. Get to the Titans.
Okay, let's go Mets.
Okay, move on. Let's go to Jeff, who's up next on the program. Jeff, thank you for calling. Go ahead.
Hey, how are you today?
Well, it's funny because the last caller asked that. I said good because that's just a natural reaction. I mean, I am doing bad because my baseball team lost and my football team sucks. But other than that, I'm great. What's up?
Okay, listen, I had a thought. Do you think maybe it's possible that they were going to tank this season anyhow? I mean,
no.
Realistically. Wait,
no.
Hear me out for a second. There's no way that they could have counted on Will Levis to be a winning quarterback, number one. There's no way that they could have counted on being a winning team without any front line to protect him. So my point was, maybe Callahan's talking a good game, and maybe Amy is playing the same game, but maybe they're going to tank because they do want the number one pick next year.
So tank for who, though? There's not like a generational quarterback. Hey, I'm all in. Let's lose so that Andrew Luck's the quarterback. I mean, again, I liked Milroe on Saturday, but who are you tanking for, Jeff?
I'm definitely thinking Milroe right now.
Okay. But again, Milroe might not, thank you, Jeff. Milroe might not end up being a first-round pick. Now, I think he probably will be, and I think Saturday is probably a big part of the reason why. But again, like, tank for Jalen Milroe going into the year. Now, I didn't think the Titans are going to be very good going into this year. Ian didn't think it either. We were haters, which you all said, and now I think you guys see that we were right because we kept it real all off season with the right tackle stories and the fact that, I never really bought into this whole PT and Duncan thing and the Bill Callahan will fix it. I was like, well, let's get Bill Callahan some better players. And like the Titans signed a bunch of eye candy, running backs and receivers and DBs. Like you need to go sign sackers and protectors and the big money guys in the NFL. One corner I'm okay with. But like to put all your money in corners and to leave Arden Key out there, it doesn't do anything for me. But again, when you sit here and you say, what if the plan was to tank? What if that was the plan? If that was the plan, then this was a coordinated effort. And I do not think this. So I'm just telling you that if that caller's right, I am not a tinfoil hat guy, but that is, again, this is the conspiracy if that's true. Again, I'm not a tinfoil hat guy, but this is going to sound very tinfoily. You would have to think that they came together as a group. Amy and Burke Nihill and Chad Brinker and Rand Carthon and Brian Callahan, and they sat together and they said, okay, we're trying to sell PSLs to a new stadium. We're going to roll them out. We're going to roll out the real expensive ones before the start of the season. We're going to roll them out because we got to get those PSLs sold because any PSL money we don't get sold. If we end up being the Chargers and nobody buys our PSLs, we have to pay for it. And we know the Titans don't want to do that. So what we're going to do is we're going to throw every dollar we have out there to go get players so that we won't win. So don't worry about signing a tackle because that would help us win. But go out there and sign a running back and sign a receiver and let's go do that. Can you guys go out there and find the players we need to sign to still stink? And they said, yes, ma'am. And so they spent the entire offseason trying to put together a team that wouldn't win while spending a bunch of money, drafting high, all of those things. Or do you think what happened was Amy said, well, we got a lot of money. We're going to go spend it. We're going to go build this thing. We're going to be good. We're going to be a turnaround team the way Jacksonville was 2 years ago, the way the Texans were 2 years ago. We're going to be that team. We got rid of the problem. Mike Vrabel was the problem. We got rid of him. We got a great young quarterback. We're going to spend all this money. Which one do you think it was? Do you think it was the tinfoil hat and hey, Rand, you're so smart. I want you to build us a team that is not going to be good. I'm going to give you $200 million to build us a team that sucks. Do you think that's what they did? More your phone. 615-737-1025. And by the way, I don't. 615-737-1025 here on the program. We will get to your phones here on the show. We will at some point do the Edge segment, which I've been wanting to do all day. We'll do it at some point, but your phones are next. Stillman and Company, 1025, 1063 The Game.
Well, last time you faced the Dolphins, you helped the team, led them to come back on Monday Night Football last year. Obviously, two different teams, completely different season. But what, if anything, can you draw from that Monday night experience against Miami?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Like you said, different team, different season for both of us. Anytime you play on Monday night, regardless of where it is, the whole world's watching. It gives a little bit of extra excitement. So we got that. yeah, I mean, that was a good win for us. We're just hoping to go do it and get another one down there. And obviously in a point of our season where we really need one. So, it's been fun getting to know them as a defense and kind of what we're expecting. And obviously similar to what we saw through training camp with the structure and what they got. So good opportunity for us to go out and show what we're made of.
What does that have to do with training camp? Like we saw this in training camp, the structure of the Dolphins? What? But I digress. All right, phone 615-737-1025. By the way, somebody said in the YouTube chat, they go, if anyone in this chat wants to lose tonight, you're not a fan. You're a moron, and you've lost the privilege to be able to enjoy this team. Again, I wanted them to win last year at Miami, and they did. I wanted them to win the last game of the year, the meaningless game against Jacksonville, and they did. And I don't feel like the Titans are in a better place because of it. And I also don't think that the Titans can truly handle a win today. I think they will overrate it. As much as they've underscored the losing, I think they will hype up a win if it comes against a practice squad quarterback. That's what I believe. And so, again, I want what's best for the Titans. When they fired their general manager in the middle of the season, you got, yeah! And I'm like, guys, it's going to hurt you lose this game. It's going to hurt you. And it's like, no, Amy put her foot down. And I'm like, how does it help you? Because I'm a fan. Because I care. You can't sit there and say, if I think that losing will help open everybody's eyes, especially the owner, because there's no way to put lipstick on that pig at 0-4 going into the bye. I don't even think the Titans propaganda network can do that. And boy, they try. I mean, God bless them, because I guess it's part of the job over there, but they try to put lipstick on every pig and polish every turd. And if you're 0-4 going into the bye and you've lost to Malik Willis and Snoop Huntley and you can't even beat the Jets and the Bo Nix just did, like, there's no way to sugarcoat it. And sometimes that's what organizations need. You know, it was funny because I was talking to somebody here at Twin Peaks before the start of the show. Guy was like, hey, I'm a huge fan. He's like, I love the fact that you tell it like it is. And I'm not a homer. And there's too many homers out there. And Ian, did you hear what Tom Brady said yesterday in response to something Baker Mayfield said?
I didn't actually see it, but I saw a headline today, something about it being taken out of context. So I guess it was a little critical.
So Baker Mayfield said something along the lines of, when I got here, everybody was stressed out because that's the way Tom Brady ran things. Everybody was stressed out. And so I was brought in to kind of bring the fun back to the team. And they asked Tom Brady, who was calling the game, they asked Tom Brady about that on the Fox podcast. And Tom Brady said, he goes, stressful for me was not winning the Super Bowl. That was what stressful for me was. This wasn't daycare, okay? If I want to have fun, I go to Disneyland with my kids. But it's not daycare. Again, Tom Brady, I got certain expectations around here. And when it comes to me telling it like it is with the Titans, like, it's not fun, but I want this to be a good team. And I think that winning would cloud their judgment of what their organization actually is right now, which is a steaming pile of crap. And so that's why, again, I'm on the fence about wanting to win. Chuck has been waiting patiently and is up next on the program. Sorry about that little rant right there. Chuck, go ahead.
How's it going today, guys?
Good, go.
Good. I just want to know if you heard of Andrew Wiley.
The right guard of the
Andrew
Commander,
Wiley,
or the right tackle of the Commanders, yes. He said after the game he's had a lot of fun winning with Jaden Daniels. What's the point?
What about Brandon Coleman? What I'm saying is that I think it's the scheme that's causing these guys to get attacked like this. Jaden Daniels, the rookie, he's only been sacked like 3 times. The Commanders supposed to have one of the worst offensive line coming to the season, and all of a sudden they make it work. So I think.
Well, you're asking me if I've ever heard of Andrew Wiley. Andrew Wiley started a right tackle for the Chiefs when they won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, he was undrafted free agent. What I'm saying is that these guys, the Chiefs, supposed to have a bad offensive line this year, and they're making it work. So basically, I just think it's the coaching that's getting these guys in a bad position.
I think there's some of that to be. I think some of that's true. Thank you, Chuck. I think some of that's true. Andrew Wiley is not a bum. Like Andrew Wiley, that again, just because he was an undrafted free agent doesn't mean he's a bum. Like there are plenty of undrafted free agents that get real second contracts in the NFL. Does anybody here sit there and say, hey, L'Jarius Sneed wasn't a high draft pick, so he's really not that good? No, L'Jarius Sneed is that good. And so that's don't tell me like Andrew Wiley. And again, the other center, there were two centers on the market. You signed Cushenberry. The other was Biotish from Dallas. I really liked Biotish. Washington signed him. Now, I don't know. I don't watch them, so I can't tell you how big of a role that is, but Washington did sign him. Let's go to Brandon, who's up next, has been waiting patiently on the program. Brandon, thank you for calling. Go ahead.
Hey, Jared. I talked to you back in before the season started. I called about strength of schedule, saying, we were a 4 or 5 win team at best because of the strength of schedule. Well, we've lost 2 of those games already. Tonight is a must-win game to prove anything that Brian Callahan has put together is, worth the paper it's put on. So I am hopeful that we win that game. But my question to you is,
why are you hopeful? So, why are you hopeful if you think that this team sucks so bad? Why are you hopeful that Brian Callahan proves it? Wouldn't you rather Brian Callahan just show you what kind of coach he is or isn't? Period.
I mean, I would rather, us be, going into season 3-0 right now and all the hype's around us, but that's just not the case. I want to see the systems that he's put into place. I want the defense to play well together, unlike they did in week 2. I want the offense to actually put something together instead of just running both BS plays. And, maybe Will Levis can actually throw the ball short distance and get a touchdown or 2. I mean, tonight's a must-win game, I think, for not only Will Levis, but Brian Callahan as well.
So I wouldn't say, thank you for your call, I wouldn't say it's a must-win for Brian Callahan because I just can't imagine that the owner, and look, again, this owner has done things that, I mean, sometimes shock me. And so, again, anything's possible. Like at some point, the reset's going to happen. And I don't know who's going to get the short end of the stick. Last year, after the Titans went to Jacksonville and just got humiliated right around Thanksgiving, I came on the show and I said, if I owned the team at the end of the year, I'd clean house. And everybody got worked up about it. Everybody got mad and reacted, saying, that's not fair to Rand Carthon to fire him after 1 year. And I'm like, well, so you want me to give him a promotion? Because right now he's not the chief decision maker, GM, whatever. Like he and Vrabel are collaborators, and that's what he was brought in here to do. So if I fire Vrabel, but I keep Rand and I let Rand hire the coach, which again, I'm not convinced happened here because Chad Brinker's the one who got the promotion. If that's the case, then you're giving that guy, and I just start over, get somebody who knows how to run a football team, bring him in here, not some computer nerd from the MIT who thinks they have all the answers because they don't, and he didn't even go to MIT anyways, but go get a real football person in here that knows how to run an organization and put them in charge. That's what you need to do. That's what I said they should do. I'm like, that's what they need to do. And it just got turned into this whole like, oh, he hates Rand Carthon. And it's like, no, it's the way the organization is structured that I hate it. So then they go hire a coach. It is inevitable, unless I'm wrong. And this group is as smart as you guys thought they were 2 months ago. It is inevitable that at some point, in order to build a winning organization, the Titans are going to have a hard reset. And that means that a coach is going to get fired after a year, or a GM is going to get fired after a year, and it's okay because it's happened in the NFL enough. And I think the San Francisco 49ers are happy that they fired Chip Kelly after 1 year so they could go get Kyle Shanahan. So when we're talking about, Brian Callahan needs this and they won't, I don't know what they'll do, but at some point a reset's coming. Might not be this year. But again, what's going to happen is somebody's paying the price at the end of this year. The coach, the GM, or the quarterback. Well, okay, let's say the quarterback pays the price. Levis is out, you draft Jalen Milroe. Team stinks next year. What are you going to do? You're going to fire the coach and the GM, and now Jalen Milroe is going to be the quarterback for a GM who didn't draft him and a coach who doesn't want him. Just like Rand didn't want Ryan Tannehill, Derrick Henry, and Kevin Byard. So, again, that's where you are. By the way, look at the Commanders. Talk about a hard reset. Sam Howell got 1 year, almost threw for 4,000 yards, 21 touchdowns. Now, he did throw 21 picks. They brought in Eric Bieniemy, and guess what? Hard reset. Goodbye quarterback, goodbye coach, goodbye general manager, and they started over. And this general manager and this coach drafted this quarterback. Not, oh, he's not my guy. I don't really want him. That's where you are. That's where you are right now. At some point, it's coming. And or you can just keep running Levis out there and then fire him and bring somebody else in. And just like you fired J-Rob because you're going to get better and you didn't. Fire Vrabel because you're going to get better and we'll see. Just keep doing that. Keep doing it. 615-737-1025, which is our phone number, 615-737-1025. Okay, Ian, we are hitting more phones and the Edge segment. We'll do it next. Stillman and Company, live from Twin Peaks out here in Madison. The award-winning pregame show starts at 4, 102.5, 106 through the game. Stillman and Company live out of Twin Peaks in Madison, the award-winning pregame show in about 10 minutes or so. Let's roll through phones because this will be the last segment of them ahead of the Monday Night Football game. By the way, somebody said on Twitter, they're like, Jared Stillman thinks that for us to be a winning organization, we have to lose. Well, when your consortium of decision makers decides to draft a guard with the 11th pick, a guard who sucks, or they decide that right tackle wasn't an issue for the entire offseason, sometimes rock bottom's where you got to be. Adam in Portland has been waiting patiently and is up next on the program. Adam, thank you for holding. Go ahead.
All right, so you remember, and by the way, I'm picking the Titans get blown out tonight. I don't think we score a touchdown.
Wow, I'm picking Adam. You always pick the Titans. You're like Chris Sanders.
This time I'm not. I could just see it, and I see what you're saying too, where there's these weird games. But Vrabel was the one who would win games like that, not this guy. This guy's proven nothing to me, and this is my point. So you asked, it was 5 years ago when they were doing the quarterback switch. You asked Vrabel in a press conference. I'm sure you remember this. Why does Mariota suck now since you become coach? He gave you a smart aleck answer and said, it's because I'm not a very good coach. Why has nobody asked Brian Callahan that exact same question? Because Levis wasn't doing this stuff last year. And I'm not saying he can control him from being a bonehead, but, like, none of the spark is there. Why has Skoronski gotten worse? Why have all these guys gotten worse under him? And I haven't heard anybody ask that question.
Well, I do think Levis did some really boneheaded stuff. Like last year. Thank you, Adam. Levis did a lot of boneheaded stuff last year. And the reaction of the previous coaching staff was to take the ball out of his hands. I don't know if you guys remember, they played a game at Pittsburgh on Thursday night, and he missed Tajay Spears for a touchdown right before the half, and Vrabel on third down hands the ball off to kick a field goal. And everyone's like, why'd you take the ball out of his hand? And it's because they were like, no. Same thing happened against Tampa Bay. Levis threw a YOLO ball, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, bubble screens to Kyle Phillips now because we are not putting the ball down the field or anything like that. So that did happen last year. But trust me, the hard questions are coming for Brian Callahan if they keep losing. You know, like they are coming if they keep losing. And I do think at some point, you know, this committee of decision makers they're getting called to the carpet too, because that's what happened last year. When they traded away Kevin Byard and Rand didn't have a press conference, I think that was a really, really bad look and a really, really bad decision on Rand Carthon's part. But again, this year, he's not getting the benefit of the doubt from the fans, I bet, that he got last year. And then Brinker, he's got to be included in this because he might be the one calling the shots. But I think those hard questions are coming. Vincent is up next here on the program. Vincent, thank you for waiting. Go ahead.
Yeah, you know, all we got to do is if you watch this ownership for any length of time, they can't be too good too early. They've got the new stadium coming, the inaugural season, it'll be parades and everything, and they'll be mediocre, and then it's right back to the crapper, and the ownership breaks cash for the next 10 years. But anyways, who gets fired tonight or this week after they lose to Miami to a quarterback that's been on the team for 15 minutes? Who's accountable? And I hang up and listen. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, it's funny. We joked about it during Jared versus Joe. But when you tell a joke that is, Ian, you know this, you tell a joke that's 75% joking, but it's also like
tint to truth.
Yeah, 25% true. Like, it's like, there's a little like,
it's like a roast.
I do wonder if part of the reason why nobody got fired after the Green Bay game when they lost to Malik after they gave away Malik for a bag of footballs. I do wonder if it's because everybody on this station, I don't know about the other station, they usually blow a lot of sunshine. So it's, different. Not all the time though, but sometimes. But I do wonder if when it came to the Green Bay game, I wonder if nobody got fired, if for no other reason other than the fact that Amy'd been hearing all week that, Amy's going to blow a gasket when they lose. We can't wait. And it's like, okay, now I'm not going to fire somebody because everybody tells me I'm going to do it. Like, I do wonder if that's part of it. Like, again, I don't know this. And honestly, part of me wants to not know. Because if it ends up being something that I don't want to hear, I'm probably not going to like it. But I do wonder, like when Levis threw that pick six or when Malik converted a 3rd and 14, I do wonder if Amy's reaction in the box was, oh, it'll be okay. It'll take some time. We'll be all right. It's okay, guys. It's only his 12th start. Or if she was up there yelling and screaming. And Ian, if you had to put money on Amy's reaction after the pick six or after the Malik 3rd and 12, which one would you bet?
Not happy.
I mean, I bet she was so mad. Oh, God, I bet she was so mad. So I'm sure she wanted to fire somebody after the game, but so many people were actually, talking about the idea of her firing somebody that it wasn't just me. Chad was talking about it, and Robbie and Joe, and everybody was talking about it. Mike from Clarksville says, we know what happened with the A.J. Brown performance against us. With the way Henry performed last night in the start of the season, do you think anyone is worried that in the organization for letting him go? Because he is such a game changer still. Derek didn't want to come back. Derek made that very clear on the Bussin' with the Boys podcast, that he didn't want to come back. Now, you could have paid him so that it's like, no, you don't have to stay, but, there's so much money you want to stay. But I think the Titans can accept why Derrick Henry's not here anymore. What I highlight with Derrick Henry's performance yesterday is not that Derrick Henry's not here. I highlight the reality of, I told you he wasn't the problem. That's kind of what I highlight as far as I'm concerned. One texter says, Jared, I think the team needs to go ahead and do the hard reset. I am sick of limping along with hope and sunshine pumping being the strategy. Just go through the start over and let the coach and GM build the team. Fire everyone and go get your GM and let him hire a coach who then can take their hands off the wheel. Let's give Brian Callahan the rest of the year. I still have hope for Brian Callahan. Not a ton of hope, but I still have hope. All right. The award-winning pregame show is coming up next. D. Mace is here. We get right to it on the award-winning pregame show. We are live out at Twin Peaks in Madison today. And the pregame show is next. Stillman & Company, 102.5, 106 through the game.